Side quest. A distress call. Hold on, guys. In here. Rook gestured into a nearby building, or at least the shell of one, scorched with fire and out of sight of the street. Rook could feel his amulet resonating with Suri's attention, and he would probably begin to hear her thoughts if he delayed her much longer. Whatever the Esper had noticed was apparently urgent enough that she wanted to manifest to tell it. Remy paused in the doorway to help Gage to the ground, where he started sulking near the entrance. Rook wondered if Gage was smart enough to be on the lookout in the doorway for them, or if he was just being a cat. They went as far as a dividing wall, something to put distance between themselves and the street. The whole space stank of fire, and ash rustled at their feet with every step. The wreckage of furniture was all that was left inside. No trace of what the room's purpose had been or who had lived here. The only light came from the distant doorway, since like many of Hyde's houses, it was made mostly of rough stone. Purple light flickered from around Rook's neck, drowning out the dim sunlight. An instant later, Suri stood in front of him, solid enough that she left bare footprints in the ash. Feathery blue hair cascaded down her back, rippling a little to the heartbeat of a world he couldn't see. He didn't miss the way his friends withdrew a little from her. Even if they all respected his secret, there was no hiding how frightened they were of her power. Suri was not as helpless as her petite frame suggested. "What is it, Suri?" he asked. Suri closed the distance between them in a single sweeping stride, lifting from the ground in a curtain of light that scattered ash and lifted her to a height with him. "One of my sisters is trapped nearby, and she's crying for help. We must answer." Zeke spoke from just behind Rook, a little more confident than he'd sounded the last time Suri was around. "You have family here?" Suri didn't look at him so much as stare through him to the stone beyond. At least it was more polite than she'd been when they were first introduced. "Your word family is only similar. My sisters are not tied together by blood as humans are." She looked back to Rook as she explained, landing on the ground again. "I do not know her," Suri continued, "but I know she's in danger. A call like this is likely to attract the attention of the Great Bounty. Whatever is after her must be worse than getting caught." Nightingale spoke quietly, glancing back out the door to the street. Suri's light wasn't bright enough to make it all the way outside, but it would be visible to anyone who followed them in here. "Isn't anything that can threaten one of your sisters? Wouldn't it be as dangerous to us as it was to her?" "Perhaps," Suri admitted, "but you've been more than capable in the past. I'm sure you're equal to whatever threat is hunting her." "And it's really bad to have espers like you here, isn't it?" Remy asked. Suri nodded. "Those banished from your realm are known to usually cause nothing but trouble. The Great Bounty exists to keep us all safe. It punishes victims and perpetrators alike." She floated around in a circle so close to each of the others that they withdrew a little. "Please, if I heard her cry, others will also. None of my sisters here on Earth would be fools enough to call unless they had no other choice." "But what about you? I mean, you haven't caused us any trouble. The exact opposite is true, actually. You've saved our lives," Remy noted, trying to sound as polite as possible. Suri blinked with a strange look of surprise. "Well, I'm trying to help. I suppose I must not count as one who causes trouble, but the bounty would treat me the same as any other if I were caught. That's why I stay for only brief moments of time." "Right," Nightingale said with some excitement. "We should try and help too. What do you guys think?" Rook was first to nod. "I think we should. Suri never asks for anything unless it's important. I trust her." "Thank you, Rook. I can lead you there." Suri floated back towards Rook, her outline starting to fade. "There are many humans beyond this room, so I will have to be subtle. The call is coming from just beyond the boundary of the city." They followed Suri's instructions and left Hyde behind. Suri broke into a blur of motion as they neared the sound of battle. Trees clustered thick all around them, obscuring the path and turning the sun into spotty shadows on the ground. Rook kept up as best as he could, though when Suri really wanted to move, even as fast as speed wasn't enough. After a few moments of sprinting, he finally got a good look at where the fight had taken place. Various bits of gear had been strewn across the ground, broken pots and scraps of sleeping bags and torn tents. A man and woman stood opposite an attacker, backing away in fear. Both were covered in the grime and blood of a difficult fight, and the man held a makeshift club in one hand, shaking under its weight. By his side, the woman shared Suri's distinctive aura and alien features, but something was different. She looked less transparent, as if she was physically present on their plane of existence. Without a doubt, though, she was the one they came here for, and she looked to be in bad shape, but at least she was still alive. Their attacker took no notice of Rook, lunging and lashing out at the couple with a massive scythe lined with barbed teeth. The swing was so fast that the attacker's head snapped back like a puppet on a string, pulled by an unseen hand. Rook recognized what was happening. He'd seen it in the basement back in Romstead. The attacker, she was a living ablation. The man raised his club to parry, to protect the girl he was with, but compared to the living ablation, he may as well have been moving in slow motion. The living ablation's scythe dodged under the wooden club, cutting deep into the man's abdomen with the wet sound of tearing flesh. He screamed and dropped to the ground, his voice stretched and distorted with his agony. "Run, Isla! Get away!" Isla wasn't as slow as her companion. She gripped her spear and held it high. "Faust! No! I won't leave you!" she yelled. Rook sprinted faster. They were almost close enough to intervene now. He drew his weapon and charged into the fray.